All right, what's up? So back to the story. I am now starting my season off. I'm in Georgia. It's about a week before the season starts, and everyone feels like the roster is pretty set. We're all pretty juiced. Everyone in the locker room is like, we just got through camp together. Everyone's looking around. We're all feeling ourselves. We're all feeling like this team is pretty solid. And I get an assistant coach walks into the locker room. Adler, come back. And I was like, what? And everyone kind of looked around, like had that feeling in the air, like wasn't a good feeling. So I go into the coach's office. He says, hey man, you've had an awesome camp, but we're not going to be able to keep you around. And I'm like, I'm just dumbfounded, right? Like I just killed camp. I might have had maybe one drop in a drill I had in the 3 weeks of camp. And I'm dominating one-on-ones, and I'm catching everything in 7-on-7, and I'm physical, I'm blocking people, I'm just doing everything I'm supposed to be doing. And I just couldn't believe it. So I sit there for a second and I think to myself, this man just told me he wanted to win a championship. So the first thought in my mind is, so I'm like trying to survive here. So I'm like, hey coach, you said you wanted to win a championship. That's what I said. And he said, yeah. And I said, well, I'm a championship player. So if you want to win a championship, you got to have me on the squad. And he just didn't know what to say. He was kind of speechless. So he looks at the other assistant coaches in the room, and they all kind of look back at him, and they look at me, and they're like, did this man just say this? So he says, go to the other room, let me talk to the coaches, and we'll get back to you in a second. So I said, okay. I leave, I come back, he says, you're on the team. Get your stuff, get out of here, see you at practice in the morning. But the only thing is that you have to stay on a couch in one of the apartments. We can't give you a room. Stay on the couch until maybe a bedroom opens up, maybe you get a bed. And I'm like, I don't care, I'll sleep in the freaking dirt, if I can play on this team. This is like my last chance. Like this is my football career. Like I don't care. So great. So now I'm on the couch in an apartment. I'm sharing a room with the starting quarterback, so that's awesome. And I'm practicing every day. I'm balling, and now I'm a backup to a pretty good athlete, a guy that played at Florida State basketball and football, played in the CFL. He was like a 4-3 guy. He played in the arena for a few years, so he had a good idea of how to run the routes, which is a whole nother world. And his name was Chris Harris, and he was the guy. So I'm backing him up. For the first 4 weeks of the season, we are undefeated. I'm not even suiting up. I'm just practicing. I'm on practice squad. Practice squad in the arena. That's about as low as it gets in the professional world. So week 4 comes, I'm practicing, I'm going hard. Chris runs like an over route at practice, and he comes out of it pretty out of control. He kind of always was kind of out of control. But he was a good athlete. But this time, it kind of caught up to him, and his knee kind of buckled, and he kind of like pulled something in his hamstring or something. So I go from bench to all of a sudden after practice, because at that point it's like we need a receiver, and the coaches are like, who's the best receiver we have to go against the Richmond Spiders this week? The Richmond Spiders were a team that we had never beaten ever in the history of the team. They were a solid team, probably like a championship contender. So it was a very big game for our team. And our coaches just kind of said, well, Adler doesn't drop balls. He runs everything right. He knows the plays. He's solid. Let's just give this guy a shot, man. So after practice, coach is like, you're starting this week at slot at Richmond. So I'm like, great, coach. Great decision. Thank you. I'm going home and I get a good night's sleep. So that was that. And That week, I practiced my butt off. Everybody knew I was starting. Everybody was very excited for me. Very supportive. My teammates were super supportive. Like, they knew I was going to do well. They knew I was ready. They trusted me. I go out there. I got my cleats, or my like nice turf shoes that I bought. I'm spatted up. I feel awesome. I'm rocking number 9, kind of sweet. And I go out there and I caught 6 balls for like 60 yards, and I had like a touchdown on a corner post that I ran really well in the game. Maybe I'll attach it to this video, and it's a sweet route. I hit this corner post. I hit it in training camp against this Clemson DB that got sent home because of this actual route. He fell, I believe, and I got good at it. I ran it in the game, and I scored a touchdown. And it was amazing, man. To score a touchdown in a pro football league with all that on the line. My first start, giving me that route, giving me that play, trusting me, and then me coming through and scoring. And then I also had an uno in that game, meaning I'm on kickoff. So I run down on kickoff, and I tackle the returner in the end zone. So that's 1 point in arena. So I got that, got the touchdown, had a couple other catches, had a solid game, and felt amazing. And then week 6, so week 5, Chris Harris comes back. He comes back. He's back to good. He starts again. I'm back to practice squad after that performance. That's just how sports goes. And week 6, they said I had to go home. So they released me week 6. They said, we're going to keep Morrell Presley and this other guy, I forgot his name was around. This other guy was like 6'9". They called him Goose. His name was Mike. And super sloppy routes, but good hands. And like he was like seriously like 6'7". So like the target area was like huge. And you can kind of throw it anywhere with this guy, and that's a big advantage in arena football, with the field being small. So they kept Mike around. They also kept Morrell Presley around. Morrell Presley was like this guy that played at UCLA, and I guess he played for the Seahawks for a second on practice squad, and then he got released from the Seahawks, and then he was on our team all of a sudden, and they kept him because he was like a big athletic body. They just like big athletic bodies. It's pro sports, it's the way it goes. And that was that for me. So they said, this time we really got to let you go. We can't afford to keep you around at practice. Appreciate everything you did for us. You made us a better team. And that was that. And I said, okay, appreciate it, coach. Thanks for the opportunity. I was probably a little salty that day because I felt like I didn't deserve that, because I felt like I did everything I did. I went into the game. I started, I balled. That's sports. You got to understand that in life for all things. You can do everything possibly perfect, but no one really owes you anything, and that's just like the reality of it. So that was a grow up moment for me too, but also humbling and helped me grow up into who I am now. So now I'm done with Columbus. I call Dennis Havrilla and I said, I just got released. And he's on the Las Vegas Outlaws, which is an AFL team. So now I go to Las Vegas, I fly to Vegas, they allow me to do a 2-day workout, which means I can work out for 2 days, and if they like me, I'll stay around, I'll make the team, or I'll make the practice squad or whatever, and I can continue my arena career. And I go, there's a bunch of guys, it's probably the same as Columbus, just a bunch of athletes. I would say the receivers were a little better. I would say the competition was a little bit better in the AFL rather than the PIFL. But like super similar structure, not very professional. Guys kind of working out, kind of not. Facilities were pretty kind of random. Like we were in like trailers to get ready for practice. There wasn't really any equipment. Like if you didn't fit this, then too bad. We don't have any more equipment. So like that was that. It was Vegas, man. I'm not a Vegas guy. I was not a Vegas guy. I'm just not. I like nature. I know Vegas has nature, but it's just not a place for me. So I'm there. I'm just there to play football. And I go and I try out, and I do okay. I didn't do great, but I did good enough. And the coaches said, you can stay, you're on practice squad. So, and that was another team I made. So now I'm here for about 4 days, and I'm there, and I'm on the couch sleeping in someone's apartment, and I realized that I was done with football. And I made that decision because I gave everything I had to the game. I trained as much as I possibly could up to that point. I got as good a wide receiver as I could up to that point. I went above and beyond with nutrition, above and beyond with my supplements, with how I prepared, with how much I learned, with how many trainers I worked with. Just sold out for the game. And the game gave me a lot. But I realized that in Vegas that there was really nothing more for me to give that was worth what I could get back. And that's a hard realization to make for an athlete one day. Is that, is this investment worth it still? And if it is, then it is, right? But if it isn't, and you keep going, then that might start getting kind of miserable. And that's why you see sometimes pro athletes just kind of like one day just be done, right? And you're like, why, right? It's because you put so much energy into the game. If you're somebody that puts everything you have into something, you put so much energy, you invest so much time into this. And if that's not giving you anything back, like you're just maxed out and you're not getting that return on investment, then you have to make a decision as a human being, and you got to walk away. And that's what I had to do. So I called my coach, Aaron Garcia, AG, arena legend, quarterback legend. Call him, and I'm like, I'm going to go back home. I'm gonna hang my cleats up and discontinue playing football. And I always remember he said, wow, okay, what are you gonna do? And I said, I don't know, coach, I need some time to figure it out. And he's like, wow, okay, all right. So that was that conversation with the last coach I ever played for. My mom was in Phoenix with some family. It was like Mother's Day weekend. So I took a flight from Vegas to Phoenix. I met my mom. We stayed at some hotel for 3 days, hang out with some family. Me just completely just like weight off my shoulders. Like I'm not training anymore. Like I have time now to figure out what else I'm gonna do with my life. And just a peaceful weekend for me. And it still gives me like chills to think about where I was on that weekend, because it was deep, and football's deep to me, and training is deep, and now I'm here. So from that weekend, I go home, and now it's summer. It's still summer. It's 2015, and I am no longer an athlete, and that hits me really hard when I get home, that I'm no longer an athlete, and major depression sets in. And I'm gonna get into that on the next video on what was going through my head and how I handled it, and continue the story. Trying to get these videos a little shorter, but thanks for tuning in, and I hope you subscribe. I hope you enjoy this. I'm gonna continue with different people talking on the next videos in the future, I promise. Not just me, way more interesting people than me, and way cooler stories than me. But thank you, and appreciate it. And I'm just gonna keep it rolling. All right.